Well, are you ready for this, Laura?
I am. I've been ready for a while. I'm
I
like
know,
I feel
right?
like I got the great spot with some of the kinks worked out. I waited a little while, and it just yeah, great timing. I feel
Yeah,
like this is
I'm
gonna be
super
great.
excited. Let's get going. And you know where I like to start? Because the first place I always like to go is like, when did everything shift for you? When was the big shift for Laura? When did everything start just kind of like, not unraveling? I mean, it's an unraveling slash raveling, right? It's the letting go slash now I'm growing into something new because I realized that this wasn't all that it was chalked up to be. Like when reality kind of breaks for you the first time, what's that moment in your life?
You know what? I don't know if there's really one special big prominent moment. I feel like as far as like my journey, I kind of just stumbled into it by asking deeper questions and just having a really spark and drive and being inspired to just really learn more about myself and other people. So there wasn't any necessarily one big profound moment. I've had a lot of little ones along the way that have projected into bigger things. Um, if that makes sense.
It makes
A
total
lot
sense.
of
Yeah.
and I think like with some of the answers you got from some of the people you've done this with before, I see one similarity, and I feel like almost every person mentions like that they went through a relationship and then after their relationship kind of had to do that process of introspection and kind of starting over and learning something from that. And I think that's why it's really important to really take stock of the people you have in and out of your life, because I feel like people can act as mirrors and we can learn a lot about ourselves and learn a lot about other people and what our boundaries are. And, we can really, really grow a lot from, relationships. And I've had a couple pivotal relationships that really escalated my growth as a person just because I learned so much about myself or so much about what I wanted and people that I had around me in my life. But I feel like, as far as there being, I guess, one profound moment, there isn't necessarily one, but there's several. So it's kind of hard to answer that question, but I can definitely come up with a few if you want.
I think it's so interesting because everybody's journey is so different, right? Where some people do have like the big, I mean, some people have like the near death experience where everything like cracks open and starts coming online or all sorts of different things like that. But I really like that you bring up relationships, that I can relate a lot to that. And I don't know how familiar you are with yoga, but there's like different paths in yoga, right? Depending upon, and when you think about it, you kind of think about it like life paths and spiritual paths and paths towards enlightenment. And one of the paths in yoga that is one of those paths of enlightenment is the relationship path, where essentially your relationships are going to be the thing that help you evolve, that help you grow, that help that spiritual evolution because of what you just described about how pivotal they are for mirroring things back and forth to each other. And I feel like that's been a big chunk of my life and my whole, I mean, yes, spiritual and healing journey for sure, but just I'm so fascinated by why people are the way that they are, how we interact
Mhm.
with one another, right? And it's like everybody can experience almost not the same thing, but we can go through similar experiences and then it shapes us so differently after the fact. So what was like and by all means, Laura, you get to share as much as you want to share or as little as you want to share, but I love breaking down how relationships are those pivotal moments and shifts. So if you're open to it, share some that resonate with you as far as like when it first really started you to reflect more on not just yourself, but the way that things are.
First of all, the reason why I think relationships can really do that is because I think we allow ourselves to really kind of open our heart to someone, and that really opens us up more. And when that doesn't work out, it hurts us the most.
Yeah.
And I think it really creates those profound moments, and that's why we grow so much from different relationships that we have, and why some people don't have a harder time opening up because they've had those moments. For me, I think the first real big one was a guy that I dated either at the end of high school or right after high school. Oh, actually, I think it was around the end of high school. And he was a cool guy, but he was also a bit troubled. And I knew that that wasn't a good thing for me. And as brokenhearted as I was, I ended that. And then He came back around like a year later, and I met up with him, and he kind of wanted to get back together, and I just like I knew I had this profound like moment, and I literally thought it in my head, and then I said it to him, and I just said, I really wish you luck, but I think you're just going in a completely different direction than I am in life. And I was so proud of myself
That's such a big
because
moment. I was going to say that when you got done. I was like, Laura, that's huge. Like the first moment of like, wait a
yeah.
minute. I'm going to trust this thing inside that says this probably isn't for me. And I'm going to speak that rather than just go along with the flow, not wanting to upset or dysregulate anything, right?
Yes. And even before that relationship, like I've kind of, like I said, I stumbled upon like my spiritual journey just by asking deeper questions. Like it even goes further back to like my childhood, like with my parents, like they did the best they could, but they were alcoholics and, back and forth on that, like clean and then not clean. And so I had to deal with that, and it forced me to grow up a lot quicker than I wanted to. I had a lot of resentment, but I also like, it also gave me that power of like really wanting to understand myself so I didn't make the same mistakes. And just by asking like deeper questions, like why would somebody do this? Why would they do this? Why would I do this? Why is that making me feel this way? And it went in, and then I always have been like I was always drawn to the metaphysical stuff. I just always thought it was cool. Like going to
Like
the
even growing up
store.
and stuff.
Yeah, but like I always think, well, there's nothing special about me. Like I don't know how to do any of that stuff, but the tarot, and now I know how to do it. But back then it's like I didn't know what half of it meant. I just thought it was really cool. I was just really drawn to it. So I started paying attention to like what I was really, really drawn to. And then I just, would start doing everything I could to learn about that. And I'm older, so back in my day, I had to go to the library and sit and hang out at the library or check out books, or I do
Laura, I'm
my
44, so I remember what libraries smell like. I remember there was this
yes.
small library in the town that I grew up in, and I quite literally I can remember what it smells like walking in there, and like the smell of old books. I love that smell. It's almost like a new puppy smell to me. I'm like, give me an old book from childhood and just open it up and stick my nose right in it. So I definitely remember. I remember libraries for sure.
Yes. Oh, the fond memories and they had the computer games. So if you
Yeah.
didn't have a book or something, I just liked exploring different books in like the metaphysical section and stuff. And I found a really couple of cool ones. And then I found one on dreams. And then it kind of started going downhill from there with the dream, or uphill, I should say, with the dream stuff. But, it was cool stuff. But yeah, I'm
When you were
41, by the way.
You're 41. When you reflect
Yeah.
back, what do you think of the because like for me, I can't even begin to think like if I was going to ask myself this question, what was like the first metaphysical, the first spiritual, the first kind of like experience that you had with what I think of now as just source energy, right? I couldn't even answer that question because it's been so many. And when I reflect over the course of my life, it's like I don't even remember, quote unquote, like what the first one was. But what are some that stand out to you along the way that were really kind of light bulb moments that helped you?
Thank you, Erin. Thank you, guys. Hi, everyone. Well, so funny enough, I had checked out a book at the library, and it was this book that the psychic medium had wrote. And I have tried to figure out what that book was like for the life of me, and I can't find it. I just know the author's name was Laura. I remembered it because it was my name, but I still can't find it. But I remember reading it, like it's supposed to teach you how to like open up and use your intuition and stuff. And I was reading it, and I was doing a couple of the exercises she was talking about in it. And I remember like it was saying like try to really like not necessarily let go, but like just pay attention to everything you're hearing, everything you're seeing, everything you're smelling. Like it was like trying to enhance your clairs basically. But I didn't know that at the time. I'm like, okay. So I was sitting there on my bed, I was looking out the window, I was like really trying to open up. Well, anyway, I was waiting for something to happen, and nothing really did. And then, like, I don't know, a night or two later, I was laying in bed trying to go to sleep, and I closed my eyes and I seen the letters DE. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what that means, but I just thought it was really weird. And then, like, a couple days later, I found out a friend of mine was coming back home from being gone for a long time. His name was Dustin Evans. And I was like, holy crap, that's got to be what it is. Like, you know how you just know, like you make the connection and you just know it's that because you get that feeling in your body where it's like, that's it, you know? And I was
Yeah.
like, wow, that was like probably one of the coolest moments, like one of the first ones, if you're talking about like the first one.
When you say you
So,
see it, when you saw it, like how would you describe that even more? Like breaking that down, thinking about like, is that
yeah.
something that, you know, because this is the thing, I'm always trying to understand more and more and more. Like I've given up and I just release and I let go and I float through the river and everything's cool and I'm just going with the flow when it comes to consciousness and love and everything like that, right? But
Mhm.
there's also this other part of me that like really wants to figure out the matrix and understand how it works, especially when I look at it through the lens of like this avatar thing. And so I'm always trying to understand like when I see stuff, what is the thing that is like, what am I seeing? What is the seer? What is the, you know, I'm always trying to break it down and understand it.
Yeah.
So try to like, how do you spin it? How do you interpret it? How do you use it? At least in that
Yeah.
moment, maybe.
So to me, what it looked like is it looked kind of like bubble letters, but maybe like lighted ones, like almost like a neon sign, but not as bright, more dull. And like anytime I have like some sort of an epiphany, or I have dabbled in some mediumship. When I do mediumship, to me, it all looks like a daydream. So sometimes, it's like, how you sit there and you're kind of thinking off into space and you're imagining things in your head. To me, they look just like that, but it's like, it's me knowing that it's, it's really hard to have that discernment and understand like what you're not making up and what you're getting in, but you have to learn how to trust that. And that's one of the biggest things that people like have the biggest hardest challenge with is just like learning to trust like what you're getting, and not trying to put a label on it, or not trying to just have that trust and faith in yourself just as much as what you're getting in. And that takes time to build up. It's just like going to the gym. Like you can't walk in the first day and bench press 360. Like you got to keep going back, you got to keep working on it and build that muscle and then get really confident in it so you can start doing other things. So that's like the best way that I try to explain it to people. And it may not be like that for other people. Other people hear more things. Like I've done like some mediumship and stuff where like I'll really taste or smell something very strongly. And so I guess those are really key things, but it's just so cool, like the different images that'll come to me, and like I'll be sharing that with someone and they say, yes, that makes sense. Yes, this is why, this is where that came from. And I don't know why I'm getting told it, but here you go. I mean, I'm not known for mediumship and I don't do it, but I have dabbled with it and gone to circles, and because like I said, I love learning things. I like asking the deeper questions. I want to experience things. I want to have that, I want to build that knowledge base and really give myself another perspective to have to be able to share. Because when you are doing things like this, like going on live, you're offering services, like, you want to be the best version of yourself for people. You want to give them a quality service. Like, and part of that is like doing the work yourself, doing the shadow work, learning the steps, learning the things. Like, everyone has their own journey with it, but for me, it's just a never ending, learning thing that you can have so much fun with. And I just say, follow what like inspires you, like follow like what really interests you, and start going down that road and see what happens, because it may lead to something else, and more than likely will lead to something else or several other something else's. So that's like the best advice I could give for anyone.
I have a couple of questions that have popped up for me, and I want to talk really as best as we can between the two of us, because I don't know how familiar you are with all the clairs. I want to break all of those down and talk about all of those, but that's secondary. I want to talk about, did you struggle? Did you have anything in your life, either growing up or, obviously throughout your life, that contradicted this? Like, I think a lot of people struggle when it comes to not just being able to like believe that these things are really happening, or they're experiencing them or seeing them or feeling them and everything like that. But then it counters so much of our other programming from society and from oftentimes our family and the cultures that we grew up in. So what did that look like for you? What was really big struggles for you? Or maybe there weren't any when it came to just kind of believing in all of these things to the point where you're really trusting it and leaning into it.
Yeah. Well, um, I didn't let a lot hold me back But I was married for 15 years and I got divorced last year. And part of that reason was because I didn't necessarily feel supported. I also felt like I couldn't like be honest and talk about these things with them and with him. And, it kind of held me back a little bit. There was a lot of things there, but I think like the people that you have in your life, a lot of people struggle with opening up and telling them about those things. And because they don't want to be labeled or they don't want people to think they're crazy or, they don't want to have the bother of the conversation of with people that aren't going to be open-minded about certain things. And so, that's important too. I've had to walk away from a lot of different people throughout the years, and I'm okay with that. I always say it's okay to love people from afar. If if somebody
I love that.
if somebody isn't allowing you to shine your best, or they're holding you back, or you feel like you have to dull your sparkle around it, it's time to kind of look at like what relationships you're prioritizing and why you're prioritizing that. Because sometimes we do it out of guilt, sometimes we do it out of fear, sometimes we do it out of we just feel responsible for people, right? And if that's the case, like really assessing how much energy things are kind of taking back and forth. I didn't have like a lot of like, I guess a lot of things necessarily holding me back, because also really my big thing is more tarot or dream interpretation or my things for the most part. And dream interpretation is not too taboo. Tarot is a little bit more for some, and you know what? That's okay. I go where my people are. I come here on YouTube. I have my community. I've done a lot of networking. I've made a lot of friends in person that are into. I have a friend that owns a crystal shop that does my hair, and I do little things there sometimes, and
So
it's
did you
allowing
never,
that.
sorry, did you never have like moments of conflict internally where it's like, because I legit felt like I was going crazy at times. Do you know what I mean? I just
Oh,
legit, like, I'm like, I'm bordering schizophrenia here, pretending like I'm not hearing voices and talking to people and seeing things and imagining shadow spirits in the corner of the room and all these kind of different things that I was experiencing. But then at the same time, running it through those old filters of like, oh, I'm bananas. I'm crazy. And I'm just talking myself out of the crazy.
no, I
I
really
love it.
haven't. I mean, maybe that sounds nuts, but I
No, I
really
think it's
haven't had
awesome.
that. I really haven't had that many moments, because I've kind of, like I said, I dig deep. I ask the deeper questions. I kind of follow it, and then I put myself around people that do those things, and I have those conversations and that support with those people, and that helps kind of keep me, I guess, grounded and kind of like in the right page. That's like, again, like what I've said from the beginning. It's really important to see like those energies you have in your life, those people that you have in your life, and looking at those support systems. Because I never had anything like happen to me out of nowhere. I mean, I've had some paranormal crazy things that happened to me that made me think I was crazy, but not like psychically or anything like that. That didn't come really until way later. But then I also realized, within the past few years that, oh, I've been claircognizant forever and didn't understand that's what it was. It was just
Yeah.
normal.
So I want to keep going toward, I mean, we're going to talk about the clairs because I want to break down the clairs. It was a question I was thinking about before this. I was like, oh yeah, because I get them confused all the time. And I'm at the point where I don't even worry about them anymore or labeling them anymore. I think it's just all the same stream of consciousness, and depending upon like where you're at in regards to it and how you are kind of just aligned in the moment, you'll either pick up this frequency or pick up that frequency via this frequency or that frequency. That's kind of the way that I think of it now. But I know that people really like to know, like, am I this, or is it what I'm experiencing? Like, we have to put framework and structure about it oftentimes in order to learn about it, in order to kind of teach it, in order to bring it into the physical reality, in order to experience it, right? So when you think about, do you have a good understanding? Because I honestly don't have a good understanding. I was thinking about people listening to the podcast who might like have heard these terms like claircognizant and clairaudient and sentient and all the other ones, right? There's like 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah, there's a couple. I can never say them correctly or
Me
remember them
neither.
all. I literally printed out a paper that has all the clairs and I have it tacked on the wall in my office upstairs. So when I'm on a live, I can look up at it and be like, which one was that again? Because I know what they all are, but I don't remember. For some reason, my brain just can't keep the same word with all of it or say half of them correctly.
I
But
feel
I
the
do
exact same
understand
way.
that.
That's why I
It's
don't ever try
basically
to
your
say them.
sense. It's like your senses on steroids, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Or just like you know, the claircognizant. It's just like that automatic knowing, right? Like you just know something. That happens to me with dream interpretation. It happens to me when I'm doing tarot. Um, you know, it's seeing. The clairvoyance is the seeing. There's the hearing and the tasting and the smelling, so I'm sure y'all in the comments down there, you can help out. I'm sure I left one or two out,
I know.
but
I'm
yeah,
sure everybody's going to
they're
start dropping them down there, huh? Do you feel like, because I feel like my strongest is, again, I think it's kind of your metaphor earlier, right? Like you go to the gym and you have to work these things out. And I feel like I just have innate ones that honestly, when I started learning about all of these things and tapping into all of these things and practicing and experiencing all of these things, it allowed me to obviously go back and, well, not obviously, I don't think, I mean, do you process childhood extensively? I feel like that's the jam I'm in all the time where I'm constantly like, how does this connect to me when I was a kid?
yeah, yeah, I've done a lot of that. I like talking about kid childhood dreams too, because I
Yeah.
remember some of my childhood, and yes, you can definitely. It's so interesting to see like the things like that start a pattern in your life if you can think back that far and remember. That's, I call it the why down. Meaning, well, so you ask a question like, where does that come from? Then you come up with the answer, and then you ask yourself why to that question, and then you answer it, and then you ask yourself why to that question, and so forth and so on, as far down as you want to go or can go. But yeah, I do. I spend a lot of time there. And yes, and like working it out, like if you are interested in working on your clairs, you can literally go Google like exercises for the clairs. If there's a specific one that you want to work on, challenge yourself, go out there and see it. And it's literally just paying more attention and stopping. You know how they say stop and smell the flowers or the
Yeah.
roses? It's literally stopping and giving that clear or that sense that you're trying to build up, like giving it its time to shine and like really feeling into it and like being super. It's just being more aware, so you can pick up on it more than not. And then before you know it, you're smelling something in your dream or something somewhere, and you're like, oh, where's that cologne coming from? I'm by myself. That's weird. You know what I mean? So it's yeah.
I think my strongest ones are like the claircognate. So I just like know stuff, right? And I don't have like you said earlier, I don't really have an explanation at all. It just is like suddenly I have this information and I'm speaking this information. And then the auditory one, I get the auditory one a lot, but it's interesting because I don't really discern it. Like when all of this is also taking place and happening, I'm not being like, okay, I'm sitting down to practice my claircognizance and sticks, right? I have no idea what's happening,
Yeah.
right? Like I don't sit and like, it just happens and I'll just hear shit. I'll just know stuff. I don't smell a lot of things. My ears are really big deals for me. And then, yeah, just that knowingness, I think, is probably the strongest. I do get visuals quite frequently as well. What do you feel like are your strongest ones?
Well, definitely, claircognizant. And then the other one, as crazy as it sounds, oh my God, I can't think of the word. Like the military will use people where they'll psychically like go in and see a location. Oh God, what is that called? What is that called?
It's coming to me. Hold on. Somebody send it to me. Remote
Yeah, say it
viewing.
in the chat. Remote viewing, yes. So I
Thank you, Ellie.
actually, thank you. Thanks, Ellie. So I actually do that when I'm doing dream interpretation. It's like I'm imagining myself in that person's dream and what what that would make me feel or how I'd interpret
Okay,
that. And
Laura,
like,
you're fast forwarding, okay? Because I've got a whole entire like I'm just waiting to get to dreams. I'm trying to fill in a little bit at the beginning of this episode because truthfully,
sorry.
there's so much of like I'm so excited to talk about dreams with you. But I'm like, I want to honestly, like I genuinely, I'm like, I want to know more about Laura. I want to know more about the person, right? But really, I told you, like I joked one time on a live where it was like, I'm that annoying friend that as soon as Laura shows up to the party, I just go running over and I'm like, I've got a question for you about a dream I just had. Like everything just becomes about dreams. So I want to get there, but I want to definitely, like, I wanted to ask, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I was just trying to use it as an example because that's the only time I could really think of that I'm doing it.
But that alone right there just cracked open. I'm like, wait a minute. So
I know.
do you feel like you're remote viewing? I mean, I understand that you just described it that way,
Yeah.
but like, do you think that that's what you're doing? That you're
Yeah.
literally remote viewing the dream?
Yeah. I didn't. And that might sound. I don't know. We're in the community. Everybody
Yeah,
is here,
everybody here is open. It's the
but
Deep Blue
but
podcast, Laura. We can go as deep as we want.
but I didn't really think of it that way before. But I actually did some like psychic exercises with one of my friends on one night on her live. It was like in the middle of the night. I was on really late that night. I'm never on that late. But she was on and we just did that. And I actually did some actual remote viewing and told her about like her tree out and where she lived. I don't know. It was like the first time I even seen this gal. I didn't know she lived in an apartment building. I didn't know there was really two trees out there in a car. Like I didn't know. But anyway, like I realized like it was kind of similar to what I'm doing. Like I didn't know that I could actually do that. And I kind of just put the two and two together. Like when I'm doing dream interpretation, like that is kind of what I'm doing. Somebody's explaining it to me. I'm visualizing it. I'm picturing it as myself in that dream space. And I'm thinking, okay, that would mean this to me. That would mean that to me. So that's part of what I do. But I've never really tried it other than that exercise that one night with her. And that really helped click a lot of things for me. And I was like, holy cow, like I really am doing this stuff and I really can do this stuff. And I have been doing this stuff and I didn't even really realize like how cool that really is. Like it was really cool. But
Okay, let's just go into dreams because there's so many questions that I have. So like, when did you first start down the rabbit hole? Like, have you been dreaming your whole life? Has it been I mean, obviously you have to some extent, right? But like, when did they start becoming such a significant thing that you were both accessing, using, and helping people through?
really in high school, I don't even remember what dreams I had. I just remember being a really vivid dreamer and like waking up and being like, what in the Ned Flanders is going on around here? Like,
Yeah.
holy cow, like, why did I dream that? Why would somebody dream that? Why would that be in my dream? How would my mind make that up? Like, I just boggled me and I just thought it was fascinating. And I'm like, I want to know what it means. I want to crack the code. Like, I was very driven about it. And so then I asked deeper questions. I started checking out books. Like back then you couldn't grab your phone or get in a library, right? So school library, regular library, whatever I could get my little hands on. If there was anything on TV about it that was on, I'd watch it. And
Did you have any mentors on those early years of kind of just trying to learn about it?
figured it out myself.
Wow.
And I started like reading not reading dream dictionaries, but every time I'd have a dream, I'd start going and looking things up in dream dictionaries. And I will say I'm not very fond of most dream dictionaries. I don't like a lot of them. There's only like one that I trust. And I don't even hardly use it, only if like I'm really stuck on something, which, these days doesn't happen often, but it's there if I need it. Or if somebody comes with me with something new and for some reason I'm like, I don't know, nobody's ever asked me about that before. I have to think about that. But it's like specific, like an animal or something. It's like, okay, I'll go check it out and just see. But I did a lot of years of that. And then after like looking up the meanings of some of these things and seeing if it resonated with me and applied, I'd be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And then I realized, holy cow, I'm dreaming this thing because I felt that in my day the other day or earlier that week. There's a connection there. It's like literally like everything in my world that I'm seeing and sensing and experiencing and thinking about. That is what's prompting these things that come up in my dream. It's just showing up this way in the dream. It's like replaying it back to me and showing it. There's a connection. It's me. And then I realize, holy cow, me like understanding my dreams is really helping me understand myself more, because it would highlight things that I knew bothered me, but I didn't know it was deeply affecting me as much as it was, and so it was just really showcasing and highlighting those things. And that's why some people, they if you're not fond of shadow work, if you can't be open and honest with yourself about your feelings, or want to learn like why you feel or things the way you do, or what triggers you, why they trigger you, and maybe it's not for you. But for those people that want to learn that stuff, like dreams are a really good access point to help you highlight some of those things that can open up that door for you. And that's what it did for me.
I think that's one of the big main purposes of them. Like that's been the case for me in my life, is it's really the space where I'm, sometimes they're just bananas dreams, right? Sometimes like just, I don't know where this thing came out of, what side pot of stuff that's been cooking on the back burner for the last 6 years. I have no idea where that dream came from, but a lot of times it's very much that. But I think that there's multiple reasons and purposes for dreams. I don't think it's like, that's one thing that I really had to grasp early on in my spiritual journey and the healing journey, is it's like, there's not one answer for every question. Like there's multiple reasons why things exist. There's multiple reasons why we do the things that we do. Like everything exists for a multitude of reasons. And so what are some of the reasons that you think we dream?
Honestly, this is my theory.
Yeah.
I love it. I stick with it. It's what I really feel, I believe to be true. When we're born, we have our body, we have our mind, we have our senses and our intuition, and we all dream. And I really feel like it's a tool that you're given here to kind of help guide you, or let you know, like keep you on track, or try to help keep you on track. And we all process things. It's part of processing your life daily. And it's your subconscious, like we're playing things back, and kind of processing that out, or trying to reset, or trying to get you to look at something to clear it off your plate because you're carrying baggage with it, or whatever it is. There's so many different things. But I think that's why we dream. I think just like our intuition is there, if we want to work with it, if we want to make it stronger, if we want to make it a more pivotal thing or strength in our life to help us along the way, it's there. And, intuition has been a huge thing for me. It's been very important to me. I find it just as fascinating as dreams. I think your intuition shows up in your dreams. I think everything kind of shows up in your dreams. If you're a medium, that shows up in your dreams. If you're working 14 hours a day, you're going to dream about work, right? Something's going to show up with work. Like it's literally like a reflection back, like just like people are mirrors for us, and we learn and grow from them. That's what our dreams are there. It's our own mirror.
Ooh, I love that. I don't know if I've ever thought about it in that exact context, but that's the relationship right there, that we get to mirror things back so that we continually learn from our own experiences.
Well, because think about it, right? Like I've had people ask me, well, if I dream about another person, does that mean they're thinking of me? No, it means you're thinking of them. It means they're in the back of your mind. It means that you saw something or saw someone that reminded you of them, and it pulled it up. It could mean a lot of things. And like you said, there's different reasons we dream. There's different kinds of dreams. There can be multiple layers of meanings for one thing. Like a
I think
coyote.
it evolves with us too. Do you know what I mean? I feel like there's times where I've got specific meaning for something, that because I continually am in relationship with that meaning, or with that dream, or with that truthfully like moment in my life, even though it came through a dream, right? It evolves and changes. I think just like a lot of the other experiences that we have, where it's just this constant evolution process, where because we're reflecting back and looking at it from different angles of different points of growth and development. Keep going though. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. No, I'm listening. I'm agreeing with you. And, another cool thing that shows up in dreams, like everything shows up in dreams really, but another cool thing is that people that I don't talk about often is it can show you your awareness levels and how you're perceiving and intaking information.
Ooh, similar.
So like, for example, have you ever had that dream that you're dreaming? A dream within a dream?
Within a dream? The inception moment?
Have you ever had that?
There's a huge part of me that wants to be like, yes, I have it all the time. They happen to me all the time. I always want to be special. I always want to be like, I've got all of these special things that happen to me all the time. And then as I sit and think about them, I'm like, do I though? I'm trying to remember. I'm almost certain I've had that experience. I've definitely had the experience where I know that I'm in a dream. Like I've recognized that I'm in a dream, but I can't say for certain that I've had the going from one dream like deeper down into another dream. But I've bounced around from dreams to dreams. Like just last night, I had multiple dreams. Would that be what it is? Like, am I thinking of it as like separate incidences when really it's just a dream within a dream? Make me special, Laura. Tell me that I'm special. I'm doing something fucking cool.
Well, of course you are. You always are. We all are. But no, the dream within the dream is like in your dream, you wake up from the dream that you just had, and you're like, oh, God, that was a dream, but you're dreaming that you woke up from your dream.
But
I get asked about that. But you're still sleeping, and then you don't really. And then when you actually wake up, you have a moment. You're like, wait a minute, I'm really awake, right? Because whoa, what the heck? Like, so when I tell people for that, to me, that's kind of like that's your mind reflecting back how you are processing information during the day. So for example, if you like have a tiff with a coworker or something, or anybody in your life, and then after the fact, you're introspecting and you're thinking about that, and you're literally visualizing yourself and that person having that conversation like it's playing out in front of you. That could be a really prime example of how that can show up in dream world. It's reflecting back the way that you process that. So it's showing you a vision of you having an experience and then going into another level. So sometimes, and I think I saw Ellie ask something about dream walking. So that's another thing, like, you know, and Ellie's a medium. So she's used to connecting with other people's energy to read them and to help them give them, you know, special advice and good advice. And she has to reach out and access their energy. Yeah. So dream walking is like when you can kind of go in into other people's dreams or reach other people in their dreams. And that's something I've talked to her about that she does, which is unique. But very few people I've talked to could like really actually do that. But but to me, that's like reflecting what you're doing during the day. You're reaching out into people's energy. You're getting kind of into their head in a sense, and not in a very good way. Like you're picturing, it's that empathy, right? It's that being able to put yourself in someone else's shoes and feel what they're feeling, to be like, okay, this is what I would do. This is what this means. Like, this is how you handle that. So that would be to me, I mean, let me know if that resonates, Ellie, but that would be to me showing why she would dream walk. That would make sense to me, because your dreams are literally reflecting and replicating what you're doing. It's like, so, you know, like, I call it like autopilot. Have you ever like driven to like somewhere and you get there and you're like, holy crap.
All the time.
I don't even remember really this drive. Like, how did I even get here? Did I stop at all the stoplights? Like,
and you're like, oh, we're home now? What? I don't remember the last 20 minutes. 2 hours sometimes, right? Yeah.
But you physically did it, and you had to have done it because you got home fine, and you're like, okay, that's wild. That's like kind of what's happening when you're dreaming. Like, you know, you've had that drive so many times. Like, it's like nothing. Your mind's somewhere else. That's kind of like what's happening when you're dreaming sometimes. It's like an autopilot. So you're processing the information the way that you do when you're awake at times, and that shows up in dreams. So when I'm able to do the dream interpretation, that's one thing I always know. If something else doesn't make sense and somebody comes to me with this cool new thing I never heard about, I just kind of correlate it to, is this an awareness thing? Is this how they're processing or perceiving the world or their information or how they're thinking about things? Is that why they may be dreaming that? And I think about it, I'm like, yeah. So I ask questions like, you know, are you processing information? Like, somebody came in to my live the other day and they asked, they said, I don't know why, but I'm just having these really boring, mundane dreams that I'm just doing normal things. And I just was like, you know, I don't think I've ever had anybody ask me this before. Right. And you know what I did? I thought to myself in my head, this must be one of those awareness things and how they're processing the world. So I said, so are you really working right now on just really focusing on trying to see things for how they really are? And they said, yeah, I'm actually really working on that right now. I was like, well, that's why you're dreaming about things, because so like legitly, like normal, because you're programming your brain to do that and process it and see it that way. And your autopiloting, you subconscious is reflecting that back by showing you like, this is exactly how this is. We're not going to give you a whale writing a rainbow tonight. We're going to show you doing the dishes because that's exactly what you do. And that's how you're really seeing it. So, so that's like one of the kind of like the tools that I reference when I'm doing the dream interpretation too. It's like, that's probably one of those things more than it is something else.
Have you ever heard of and I'm going to butcher it all wrong, but it's like Don Miguel and the Toltec like lineage traditional thought process around like dream and dream waking, and like the difference, like the fact is like this is the dream rather than when we think we're dreaming. So like the idea of like, how do we differentiate between what's a dream and what's not a dream, right? Because I've had dreams that are so real. I've had dreams where I can feel, taste, touch, like time exists in dreams.
Yeah.
There's so many things that exist in a dream that mirror so much what we pretend to call reality. And I'm like, at what point do we decide that it's all a dream? Or if we're gonna call dreams dreams, then we probably need to call whatever we're pretending this is something else, right? Like they're too similar.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, for me, I don't know. I feel like there's been a lot of talk. A lot of people have kind of played with that, meaning like lucid dreaming. I feel like now we're kind of talking more about like really our brain tricking us in our sleep, thinking something's really real, and you're really feeling it, you're really smelling it, you're really tasting it, you really got hurt. You wake up and you banged your arm, or and it really hurts when you wake up. Like I've had those experiences too, and there really isn't anything. I don't know, that it's kind of hard to me, there really isn't anything you can do other than try to train your brain if you want to strengthen that or weaken it. There's things you could do, like I talk about like dream goals, and I hope I'm not getting too far off like the question that you're asking, but the only way I can think of to answer it is, so I'll tell people like, what goals do you have? Do you want to lucid dream? Do you just want to not have nightmares? Is your goal to actually just remember your dreams, right? So it's like really have the better connection that you can build with your dream world and your dream space, and understanding that and building that up. Like I feel like the more probability you're going to have to lucid dream or remember your dreams, or astral travel, whatever your big goal is for dreams. I actually did a really cool experiment with a group of people where we all, once a week, somebody picked an object in their house, and everyone else had to try to psychically connect to that object in their dreams. And then the next day, if we had a dream, we would, share it with the group. And then at the end of the week, the person would send a photo of what the object was, and then go through every dream that was sent and talk about how it related to the object or their lives. And we were picking up more on the person and stuff that was going on in their lives with the dreams that we had, more than the object most of the time. So it was just like a really, really, like it was getting stronger and stronger and better the more we did it. And it was just a really, really cool experiment that I was really happy to partake in. And it just really opened my eyes.
Did I talk to you on a live recently about an episode of some podcast that I was listening to where they were talking about like dream collectives? I can't remember, because it was one of those things where it was like, as soon as I heard this podcast, and if we sit around and wait for me to remember what podcast it was, we'll be here all day long. I listened to too many podcasts, so I'm like, I have no idea. It could have just been a reel that I saw as well, right? Where suddenly I'm like, well, this is fact because I saw a 15-second reel that told me it. But no, this was all about, this guy had done all of this work where he worked with organizations, but he also worked with like small groups of people, and eventually what took place was they would start to have like a shared dreaming experience, and so person A would end up having a dream that would be connected to person B's life, and have some real direct effect on what they were experiencing in this physical reality in a sense. And he had tons of stories about all of it. And I wanted to talk to you about it. So it's awesome that it's coming up. But like, I think that that's, for me, I think a big part of what we're missing when it comes to just like our understanding of what all of this stuff is and all the different ways that we explain it, and like the lens that we're talking about through dreams right now, all of these different things. One of the really big missing pieces that I keep trying to just like, I keep trying to bring it to the center of the puzzle rather than thinking it's just a piece of the puzzle, but I keep trying to bring the idea and the concept of just collective consciousness, where all of these thoughts, all of these things that I've labeled my own, all of these ideas, all of these things, like quite literally just the thoughts that come into my head, somehow I pretend that they're my thoughts versus our thoughts. And when I think about us as that collective consciousness, and this is our experience, and I'm just having, I'm not even having my portion of our experience. I'm just witnessing a portion of our experience as a whole, as a collective. Then suddenly it makes it a much more plausible thing where it's like, oh, we totally need to get a group of people together and start like doing some shared dreaming experiences with purpose, right? Like we have the capacity to, I think, help people so much as a collective when we start working together in conjunction with love and energy and all of these kind of different amazing things. And this whole idea of just like, hey, maybe it's just because it's all collective conscious. Maybe it's just because we're all quite literally in the same head, thinking the same thoughts at the same time, pretending like they're individualized, right?
I look at it that there's different levels of that. I feel like there's the people that are in your lives that are, and you can see that in physical ways too. Like I've seen like, and I've experienced myself, like when different women live together, their cycles tend to sync up.
I've got
I feel sorry for the men that live there, but but you
I've
know,
got
like
three daughters and a wife, so I'm familiar. All
yes,
adult
like
daughters too, so we got to experience all of that for many, many
yes.
years.
See, so that's like a physical representation of a really good example of that. But I feel like we do that with the people that are closest to us. And then like if you hang out with one friend a lot, like they really, you know how like they really start to rub off on you and you kind of start sounding alike or you really start syncing in different ways. So we do that psychically too. And I feel like the people that are closest to us, there's that level. And then I feel like there's a bigger level where, you know, and this is why I think this is the proof for me is I'll have 4 random strangers within a 2-week time span come in and ask me about the same type of dream. 4 random strangers having all, I had 1 week, I had literally like 2 or 3 people tell me they had a dream they were on a ship and something happened with the floor like breaking up or turning into cement blocks or something with cement in the floor. And I'm like, that's really too specific. Like that one was kind of strange for me to have 2 or 3 different people ask me the same thing on that week. Or I had like a week or 2 weeks where everybody was asking me about alien dreams. Everyone was dreaming about alien dreams. And it's like, you know, it's some of that is, or people are picking up things in the news or, you know, it's demographically sometimes like there was a shooter event that happened in that area. And so those people are all had a moment where they got scared or it affected them. And so they're having some sort of a similar dream. And then I think there's more of a global one as well. That's where those true prophetic dreams come in, where somebody like dreams that there's an earthquake and then 2 days later there really is one or something. So like I think that, and then I think that even goes further than that. I think then we kind of move into, you know, like astro traveling and different things like that too. So I think there's different like levels and tiers of like, just depending on where you're at and like how open you are or closed off you are or where your real focus really is. Also like how strong like you're able to pick things up too. That makes a big difference. Like some people will say they'll have a dream about somebody they haven't seen in like 3 years and they live in New York and the other person lives in California.
Yeah.
And something happens and then, you know, they call them or text them or whatever and check in and something big is happening to that person. And they're like, oh, that's so crazy. Like I had this dream about you. Like I thought I'd call you. I'm glad I checked in. That makes sense that you randomly popped into my dream last night. Now I just want to make sure you're okay. You know, like those, I see those things. I hear about those things. Those things have happened to me. So it's real. Like we really are spiritual beings having a human experience. And we closed down so much here so we could focus on this human experience and get what we need to get out of it, I believe. But they're still going, but we're still spiritual beings, right? So we have, that's where I think a lot of that stuff comes from. But that's just my theory.
You just brought up, or just a second ago, you were talking about precognition, prophetic dreams, right? Seeing things and getting messages in your dreams that eventually come true, or you experience in real life, or again, what we're calling real life or pretending is real life, right? Is that something that you experience, or what do you have to say on that topic?
I've never had like a catastrophic event or anything that I've dreamt about that came true, thank goodness. But I have talked to people that have, or say that they have. And I get asked about prophetic dreams a lot, but I think there's some loose-based terminology differences where people think, something super small is a prophetic dream, which it can be. It doesn't have to be a catastrophic event. It could be something like you dreamt, somebody broke their leg, and then like 3 weeks later they did, and you're like, did I make that happen?
Right.
Was that my fault? Did I make that happen? Or did somehow like I pick up that was going to happen? Which is it? It's kind of, people like, they ask me those kinds of questions. Like, was it me? Did I make that happen? Or like, why did I dream that and it came true? And my answer is usually, no, you didn't make that happen. I feel like that's like your higher self or your intuition, like picking up on that for some reason. And it's when we're dreaming, we tend to be more open. That's why people have dreams or loved ones come visit them, and different other things that I've learned about and talked about over the years. And you have that ego is like kind of gone that you have when you're awake, when you're conscious. So it's not, some people are a little bit more open, some are not as much, and then others are a lot more open. So they're having more of those kinds of dreams. And, for me, as a person and as a dream interpreter, I just say, how often are you picking things up when you're awake? Looking at that reflection again, like how often are you picking up on people's pain, or you think something about them when you're awake, and then lo and behold, Jimmy and Shelley broke up, or whatever it is. So like, because your dreams can reflect that too. It's just different. It varies. Yeah. And it's just at different levels for everyone. And it's just really something to take note of, because the more data you can collect, like you can really start to see and kind of piece things together. And if that's something that's really interesting to you or something that you want to develop, you can definitely use that information and see and really focus on it, and it'll get stronger. So just something for everyone to think about.
I like that you just called it data, more data to collect. I think that that's a lot of what we're doing here. And by here, I mean in this experience, is just the process of collecting more data and helping evolution evolve continually, right? Just helping consciousness evolve. And when I break things down from that perspective, it would make so much sense that like, if I'm a 24 hour in a day, like 24/7 data collecting machine, that's my sole purpose, is just to collect data, then of course I'm going to like turn on when I pretend to go to sleep and continue the data collection process, right? Constant learning, constant reflection, constant, like, I love metaphors. And one of my favorite metaphors, I use it all the time when I'm describing cards, but it's just doing puzzles. Like as I collect more data, I'm able to put together more pieces, and I'm able to see more of the picture and get a better understanding. And then that leads me down to more rabbit holes and more pieces and more data to collect.
Yeah, I agree. I think collecting data is important because we can get all these random pieces of information and never connect them. And that's kind of a loss, right? That's kind of like, oh, you could have really utilized this or utilized that. The way I kind of see it is, I think we are here to go through the challenges and struggles that we do, not because they're challenges and struggles, but because it's to help us grow, to collect that data and like really see like, how are we going to respond to that? Or how do we respond to it again when it happens? Because I also think life is full of patterns. Like when people come to me with, and this is also, and I have all these theories because of all the dreams I've heard over the past 20 years, and just
That's what I
putting
was
all
going to
this
say is
together.
it's I love the data collection that you've done in regards to this, area, in regards to this discipline, in regards to this focus. So it's freaking awesome.
Yeah, and so like repeating dreams. People will be like, I've had this one repeating dream ever since I was a kid, or I had it for several years and then I didn't have it anymore. And then all of a sudden I had it again like a year ago. Why? Like, what does it mean? And so, like, when you're having the repeated dreams, or those, dreams
The
that come up as
reoccurring.
the reoccurring, thank you. I don't know why my brain lost that. When you're having the reoccurring dreams and it's the same dream over and over again and you kind of randomly have it, why would you have a reoccurring dream? Do you have a reoccurring pattern happening in your life? Is there something you're not learning or growing from, or is there like a trauma that you had that you didn't fully heal from, or maybe you did heal from it but it's trying to come back up and face you again? So it's really putting together, like, for example, I had somebody ask me the other day, I won't say who, but just so you have an example. They dreamt that they walked into this beach house, and it was when they were a kid, and they were talking about, like, it was all their mother's furniture in the living room, and then they walked down into the basement, and then the basement turned into a hallway, and then the hallway turned into like it was white, and there was gel cells, and they were batting away like ghosts, like dark ghosts that were coming up around their head and putting them in these gel cells. And I'm like, well, this is really fascinating. And so just saying, so looking at that piece by piece, I'm like, well, when you dream that you are in a living room, it's usually showing you, reflecting back the space you feel to be yourself. I said, so with that being your mother's furniture filled in that room 20 years ago when you had the dream a lot, did you feel like your mom wasn't allowing you to be yourself? And she
Hmm.
said, absolutely. Absolutely. So I have to ask these questions. I don't always know and I can't assume. I ask, so dream interpretation is more of a conversation. It's an asking of getting to the bottom of why you dreamt it. There are general rules, like living room generally means like the space and freedom you have to be yourself. But, depending on what else is going on in the dream, there's a lot of variables. Do you feel cramped, or is there way too much space? Do you feel like you don't know enough about yourself if there's too much space in there? Do you feel like it's just the right amount of space and everything is good quality? Are you feeling good about who you are and how your freedom to be who you are? But yeah, she confirmed that for me. And then we talked about the other pieces of the dream and what all the other stuff meant. And so I was like, so since it's a reoccurring dream and you haven't had it forever and it came up, has something happened recently where you either felt like you didn't have the space or the freedom to be really who you were? Or she's like, yeah, something's been going on with my mom again.
Hmm.
And so that's how I interpreted it, is by asking those questions and confirming that. Thank you. Um, so
I was going to
it's
ask you, Laura, about houses because I feel like
yeah.
I dream about houses a lot. I'll
Mhm.
even like, I know that it's, and I'll explain it oftentimes like this. I'm like, it was our house, but it wasn't. Like, it's like, I know that I'm in our house, but it's not quite our house. Or I'll specifically remember, like, it's just like, oh, suddenly I was in a house and I knew it was a house because of whatever, right? But I dream about houses a lot and I feel like it represents something, right? It's something. Sometimes I think about my dreams from the perspective of like, it's just a big performance. And it's like, when the curtain closes and the lights go out, then all the actors come out and they run over to the costume closet and grab what they're going to put on for the night. And then when the lights come back up, the show's up and then they start this performance of whatever the fuck the dream is. So sometimes I feel like the house gets pulled out of the costume closet because we're doing a house scene tonight, but I don't really know what it's
Yeah,
connected to.
I love that. That's so fun to look at it that way. Yeah. So any building that you're in is representing kind of the same thing. So the way I look at it is like, and I get asked about cars a lot too, but that's anyway. Houses, whether you're in a hospital, a house, a hotel, a gas station, a hospital, it's referencing our frame of mind of how we feel about something going on in our lives. So really looking at the house, does the house need a lot of repairs? Do you not feel safe? Does it not feel sturdy? Is that how your mental Is that how you're kind of framing how you feel like emotionally and mentally around a situation right now?
Laura, we're gonna push pause on this podcast because as you're talking right now, I'm sitting here thinking. Sorry, we're not really pushing pause. I'm just
Okay.
interrupting because you're describing, and suddenly I'm having a dream come back to me. Sir, should we just go for it? Are you open to helping me understand this dream?
Yeah, sure.
It's an old
That's
one.
what I do.
Like it's been a few years. I don't remember exactly when I've had it. It's been within the last 5 years for sure. So
Hmm.
probably more like within the last 3 years.
Okay.
And there's a couple of key things that stand out to the dream. First and foremost, it's my best friend that's in the dream with me. So I've had like the same best friend my entire life, pretty much since like fifth grade. And so it's him and me in this dream. We're like, like him and I are working together in this dream. And in this dream, we have to break into this building that's like a, oh gosh, it reminds me of what's that show that's on Apple with the guy from Parks and Rec? Gosh dang it.
I don't know. I don't have Apple TV.
Anyways,
I
it's like
can't.
this, it's a building, but it's kind of like a fortress. It's a very, there's, really intense security. It's hard to get into this place. So him and I have to break into this building and it's going to be really scary. And we have to get inside because this building is keeping kids. Like they are, it's not that like they've kidnapped kids, but they've got kids locked up. Severance. Thank you, Prism. It's a great show on Apple TV. But so they're keeping kids in this place and like doing studies on them and tests. And we have to break into this building in order to break the kids out. And we get to the spot where we have to like go into the building and it's like this is when it's going to get really scary because we have to like get through security and whatever, sneak around. And he totally like bails on me. And I'm like, I still got to go in. Like I still got to go in and I still got to go get the kids. So I go in and I get the kids and I come out. And I mean, it gets a little wonky from there. The dream kind of goes off the rails there. And I think there was a flying horse at some point, some Pegasus thing maybe. But the heart of it was like this whole dynamic of my buddy, my best friend, kind of bailing on me at the last minute. And I can think back so many times throughout my life as I am now replaying this and remembering it. And I'm like, there was legit a time when we were kids in elementary school and I lived down the street from the elementary school. So we used to go down there at night and kind of dink around, especially when we were like in that 10, 11, 12-year-old age where we're sleeping out in the backyard in sleeping bags. And so we'd like sneak down to the elementary school and do shit that we weren't supposed to do because it was literally right down the block. So it was one of those nights and we were on top of the elementary school and this buddy of mine was the lookout. So he stayed on the ground. He didn't climb up on top of the building with the rest of us. So he was supposed to like alert us if anything happened. Well, something happened. The police showed up and it was like this whole ordeal. So he like bailed on me there. And I just have all of these moments in time where I feel like this guy bailed on me in some capacity, which kind of
In
breaks
real
my
life.
heart in real life. But I
Yeah.
also think that there's more significance, like as you were explaining the like structures of every kind, this dream came back to me and I was like, hold on a minute, because there was such significance to this building. And I've never thought of like the houses stand out, like I said, but I've never thought about just like buildings. And I feel like I dream about buildings in some capacity all the time.
Yeah. Well, looking at like, so what you have to do is you have to kind of take away a little bit of the imagery and focus on like the feelings and the emotions underneath of the things, right? So how I would probably interpret this is, you know, there may have been something, and you said this was like within the past couple of years, so it's
Yeah.
not like it happened. I don't know if you'll be able to reference like exactly what was happening in your life at the time you had this dream, but if you can, great. And that's important too when it comes to dream interpretation. Like you got to think about what's happening in your life at that time you're having that dream, so you can kind of connect it. Because it always comes and stems from things that you're feeling and experiencing and processing, right? And
During
how
this
you're thinking about it.
during this time period, like I said, I feel like it's within the last 3 years, truthfully.
Okay,
But
so you may be able to pinpoint it.
yeah, I
So
feel
I would
like I'm
say if
doing a
there,
lot of like inner child work during that time period. A lot
yeah,
of
I
deep
was going to
shadow
ask you
work.
that too. I was going to ask you that too. I was wondering that. But I would say, is were you trying to deal or go through or process something in your day life, whether it's the inner child work or something else that was going on, where you kind of felt abandoned or felt like you had to face something on your own. Like, because looking at like kids getting tested on or whatever, like that's a serious thing. And even though your friend was gone, you knew they needed help and you were there to help it. So that's like you maybe even sacrificing yourself to help others. Also, kids are innocent, right? They don't always have a voice, or they don't always get heard, or when you're dreaming something's happening to a kid or even a baby, that's kind of relating to those, like knowing something's innocent and feeling a justice of some kind, or trying to do a justice of some kind. So if there was something that was going on in your life where you were processing some sort of abandonment, or feeling like you had to face something kind of like really important on your own, or heal from that, or go through that, that could have very well been why your subconscious brought up those kind of almost like linking like some things that happened with this. That's why it brought up that person. That's why it brought up like a similar, like a school and a fortress, right? Like somehow you knew that was similar, so that's significant. So your subconscious was accessing those memories to use it to symbolize the feelings that you're working through during the day now. Does that make sense? Does that resonate?
It makes 100% sense. Like I'm trying to not go in it too much because it's going to make me start bawling. During that time
Aww.
period in my life, Laura, it's when we moved to Tennessee from Utah. And it was a big transition in my life. It was a massive transition in my life. And it was because of inner child stuff. It was because of really early childhood stuff. And so I was
Yeah.
dealing with a lot of abandonment and a lot of like feeling left behind and feeling alone, and like, you know, literally like leaving all family and friends and heading east. Like it was a very significant moment in time for me. And I remember when I had this dream where it was like, I think sometimes I get caught thinking about it too literal. Like I get into there and I start to think about it through the lens of like, oh, this must be in conjunction with my buddy and it's got to do something about our friendship. And like, I feel like I get stuck in maybe just one potential aspect rather than seeing some of the, like letting go of some of the material world and some of the physical reality stuff. Because like you're hitting on and what you're talking about is just that deep feeling of what I was processing through that in that time. And it makes perfect
Mhm.
sense that that's the way that my subconscious is going to play it out.
So you can still think of it literally, but instead of the images, focus on the emotions.
I know that. Gosh dang it, Laura. That's always the thing. Stop freaking
Yeah.
thinking and get into the feelings of all of it.
Well, that's the key, and that's how I connect with the remote viewing. Is I focus on how that would make me feel, or what that's prompting me to feel in the dream, or that person to feel in the dream. And sometimes I have to ask, because maybe somebody's scared of ponies, and they're telling me that they dreamt about a pony, all right, and I'm assuming it was lovely, but they're like, no, I was scared as all hell, like ponies scared me. I'm like, okay, well that brings that changes the whole meaning of the dream. It's and so we'll go from there. But that's why dream dictionaries don't always work. That's why the same thing doesn't always mean the same thing in everyone else's dreams, and that's why it always like seems too complicated for people, or it gets over uh, people get overwhelmed with it because they look it up in a dream dictionary and it doesn't match. Oh, well, this is garbage. Dreams that just don't mean anything. It's like, no, they absolutely do. But it's just you have to ask yourself, though. You have to get to know yourself in that way and understand why you feel things the way that you do, or why you experience things the way you do, or why you question the things you do. That's why the best person to ever interpret your dreams isn't me, it's you. I can definitely help you and guide you on that track, but it's a really, really, really unique way to get to know yourself on a whole nother level.
Do you feel like there's times, Laura, when you're helping people through the process of it and interpreting it and breaking it down, that you're suddenly asking questions not from necessarily your thought process, like your the information that you're asking, or the do you know what I mean? Like it feels like there's times where you're probably, my guess is like you're removed from this situation, and somebody is just something or someone else is helping them process this moment so that they get the pieces that they need. Does it ever feel like that?
You mean like I'm feeling like I'm not there, you mean, in a
No,
sense?
no, I just feel like because you were saying things to me that were lighting up things for me.
Oh, okay.
And so it was like some of the words that you specifically chose to use were
Uh-huh.
sparking things inside of me and connecting to things
Um,
inside of me, so that I
okay.
saw it was putting pieces together for me. So it would be like when you, and I can't even specifically remember what they were. It was around survival. There was a spot where you started talking about it through that lens, and it was like a keyword that you said. And suddenly I was like, it opened up a door and I could see more pieces and feel more things. And I'm thinking, I'm
Oh.
like, does it feel like you're ever no longer the interpreter of the dream necessarily, and now you're just assisting
Like,
along the way while that person, it's kind of like the remote viewing almost, where I don't know, I'm just curious what it feels like for you.
um, I don't, not sure I fully understand the question,
I don't know
but
if I do either, Laura.
I think I kind of get what you're saying, so I hope I answer it like, based on what you're trying to ask me appropriately. But um, I I get a lot of that cognizance where I just kind of automatically know a little bit of that remote viewing, and then that whole like empathy thing where I'm like that perspective where I'm like looking at myself in that person's shoes as if I am that person. And I ask the questions based on listening and what you're telling me, and then feeling the emotion that that would draw out in me. And then when that other person is responding, I don't know exactly what their process is or what it is they're feeling. So I'm glad you told me that because that was really interesting. But yeah, like sometimes they have an aha moment, and that's my favorite thing. Like you said, like certain words were sparking certain things, and you're like, oh, okay. I never looked at it that way. That's my favorite thing in the world
Yeah.
is like the light bulb moments, or like people like being like, holy crap, that connects, like that resonates, like that makes sense. And that's like my favorite thing to do and draw out of people is walking them through getting to that place. But it's just the questions that are prompted and getting them thinking in a different way, like you kind of mentioned. So
Do you have a moment? This is like, I'm sorry, I just like, again, I'm so fascinated by this. So I like peeling back the layers. Do you feel like you have a moment where, like, I was in this, I was doing a reading. I don't even remember how long ago this was. It wasn't very long ago, like 2 weeks ago or whatever, right? Where I
Mhm.
was in the process of doing this reading, and it was like suddenly I could hear my thought, and then I could hear what I was supposed to say. And it's like the clearness of like recognizing the duality of like, oh, there's my train of thought in regards to whatever might be happening or whatever I might be
Yeah.
interpreting around the person or what's coming from the person. But then it was very much like not important what my train of thought was, needed to say this other thing, and just constantly learning to be in that space of just saying the other thing to the point where I don't even like think about it anymore. Do you know what I mean? But having just like, it was a moment of a little glimpse. And so I was just interested because when you talk about the clear cognitive part, the part where you just like know shit and say it,
Yeah.
like, do you have the distinction of the you versus the you part of it? I don't know. I'm just interested.
Well, I mean, so I feel like that's what people are referring to when they use the word discernment.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that is like you say connecting to source energy, right? And mediums usually say like connecting with spirit, or some people say connecting to your higher self, or whatever that is for everybody. But yes, so for me, when I know I'm really connecting in, and I know that I'm really getting these like downloads or this automatic knowing, sometimes like I'll have other physical elements, like I'll get goosebumps, or I'll feel almost like somebody rubs a balloon on your hair, on your head, and your hair kind of stands up a little bit. I'll get a little bit of that. And so that's when I really know it's kind of more of like a, not necessarily a channeling, but kind of like a download, or like that knowing, or you're really like connecting in. Um, but as far as sorry, my dog is getting on my kid's stuffed animal over there, making a little.
What kind of dog do you have?
um, but as far as like knowing kind of the difference of like kind of getting that download versus my thoughts, I think I don't focus too much on worrying about that discernment. I just know that the information that I'm picking up on or that I'm getting in it's resonating for me as like, oh, this is gonna fit. I just know it, and then they say it does. It's just trusting that and not thinking too much about it if it's me or if it's something else. Just knowing I'm kind of in that flow and just like when you're off too, like if you're tired and you're not really there, like you're not picking up the information as quickly or as good as you are other times too. It works in reverse, and that's when you kind of start sweating a little bit and you're like, okay, maybe this isn't the best time for me to do this, right? So I think Millie, I think that that's a little different for everyone, but I guess that's how I see it.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I like it. You helped me so much recently with, I had a dream that was super apocalyptic, very like, oh my God, end of the world. Everything was like shut off. Do you remember me talking about this on a live recently when you were on? It was such a
Yes.
bananas one where I'll share it here so that we have context, but you helped me understand it so much because sometimes I get lost, sometimes getting really scared that some of my dreams are prophetic in a sense where, starting to dream about like the apocalypse, starting to dream about like suddenly, the East Coast disappears and falls off into the ocean, or all of these things
Mhm.
started happening. And in this dream, things just kind of slowly started getting worse and worse and worse. And it kind of felt like present day, kind of felt like how we move through life today, where I don't really pay attention to what's going on in the world. I'm not interested in all the stuff that's taking place. I'm really just interested on creating the reality that I want to exist in. And I don't need outside influence because I'm creating this reality. Anyway, it's not important. But in this dream, it was like slowly getting pieces of the puzzle outside of almost this little bubble that we've created and realizing, oh,
Mhm.
it's getting pretty bad. It's getting pretty bad. It's getting pretty bad. And then it got like really bad. And then it got like really, really bad. And then suddenly it was like some major thing happened and all electronics were just off and gone and done. Like everything, we no longer had electricity. We no longer had anything with like everything was done. We were immediately like just set back, 300 years or something like that. And I had this just massive like relief and just like, oh, it felt so good for a moment. And then the realization of like, well, shit, we got to go find some food now. So it was like a big reset moment in the dream where I had fear leading up to it, especially given because we're in Tennessee and we still have our adult daughters back in Utah. And it was like the fear that was really building up was in conjunction to our kids and all of this anxiety, and then worst case scenario, and then even worst case scenario. And then suddenly it was just peace. And I felt such peace in that moment. And
Mhm.
I can't remember, like it wasn't too long ago. I felt like it was like 2 weeks ago or something like that. But you came on and you were talking about it through the lens of like, well, you explain it rather than me trying to reiterate the way that you were explaining it. Because also it was via the
Um,
chat.
yeah, I think, let's see if I can remember what I said. So, I mean, usually just in general with apocalyptic dreams, it's usually like knowing there's a big change happening within yourself, like kind of like that leveling up, or like, in the apocalyptic dreams, usually it's like the normal comforts or resources like are no longer available and there's big changes. So if you're going through like a really big transformation, or like there is something that is completely like you don't no longer have anymore, or it's like changing over to something else, that could be when you can have those dreams. um Same thing with like aliens and stuff, like people have the dreams where the aliens are taking over. I got asked about that a lot and did a video on that. But it's kind of like that fear of the unknown, and like the fear that comes with the changes. But having that moment of like relief too could just be showing like how some of those like resources and things can put a lot of pressure on you. And there's like a change that you wanted to have, and it's kind of is to me it's kind of showing, like you said, reset. I think like that reset moment. But then there's a whole another thing to figure out how to live this way now, because that change is happening. So how do I navigate and look at it this way, or how do I live this way? How do I how now that I this change is here and it's happening, how do I adjust? How do I make it work? And not even just for me, but for my family, right? And so It's like taking those undertones and kind of understanding that. And Billy, gosh, sorry, she's so loud.
You're
Stop it.
good. What
She's
kind of
bored.
dog is it?
She's a coonhound. Come here.
Oh my
Would you
goodness.
stop? She's bored. Here. She's right down here. She's wagging her tail, but she gets bored, and then she can get a little destructive when she gets bored.
She's so
She's
cute.
fine though.
Let's
Yeah.
open up the chat. If you've got questions for Laura, any questions for Laura, feel free to drop them in the chat. We'll keep talking and everything, and then we'll kind of keep an eye on the chat as well. What was the last like really big dream experience for you, Laura, that had a like a impact for your physical reality existence?
So the dream, I had a dream that like pretty much changed everything for me. It changed how I do dream interpretation. Oh yeah, Noble Knights wants to talk about cars and vans, and I will as soon as I say this. No, Noble.
Okay.
I so I actually had read in a book one of those times when I was doing a lot of research that characters in your dreams are showing you as an aspect of yourself. And I remember reading that during the day and like stopping and it just completely blowing my mind and going, whoa, that's deep. That's so cool. And I really had to think about it. Like I really thought about it. It profoundly like shook me during the day. Well, literally like that night, that knowledge came up in my dream. I had almost like a lucid moment where I was going under a building trying to get to the other side, and there was a lot of shady characters down there, and it was dirty, and there were cinder blocks like holding the building up, and I had to get through there to get through the other side. And there was this guy. You know the movie? Have you ever seen the movie Ghost with like Whoopi Goldberg and Patrick
100%. I
Swayze?
love that movie.
So you know the angry guy in the trench coat with the curly hair.
Yes.
So there was a guy there with that vibe that looked a lot like him. And he was really scary and he was angry. And I looked at him and I got scared. And my first instinct was, holy crap, I got to get the heck away from that guy as fast as possible. Somehow, because what we think about and what we experience in our day comes up in our dreams, somehow I remembered in my dream that whole thing that I read about every character in your dream represents an aspect of yourself. And I stopped and I thought, not even realizing I was picking up on the fact that I was dreaming, but just remembering that and using it. I thought, there is no way that that guy is me, is an aspect of me. There's just no way. And so I got real curious and I'm like, no, I'm going to go confront this. This is not me. So I walk over and I look at him and somehow I understood the emotion that he was giving off. I connected it to something I had been feeling in my life at the time. And that was feeling kind of angry, like I wasn't feeling like I was being heard. And I realized that that was the same feeling he was giving off because I took a minute to connect in on it in the dream while the dream was happening. And I thought,
You're interpreting your dream as it's happening.
Yeah. And I thought, oh my God, that is me. And I went up to him and I gave him a big hug and I said, it's okay. You're loved. You're heard, people care about you. And then the demeanor on this guy completely changed. He became nice. He looked a little shocked and stunned. And then he kind of went happy and like, okay. And like he wasn't scary anymore. So I literally confronted my own issue in my dream, healed from it, recognized it. And when I woke up, I was just like, the feeling in my body, I was like, holy crap. So and that changed dream interpretation for me forever because dream characters are really hard to interpret for people because like your friend is showing up as that emotion for you, like of abandonment and maybe not feeling like, someone's there for you or whatever. That's what he was representing. It's the same thing. So now I know how to help people with that. And so that was the most profound and I didn't even realize, like, I realized I was angry, kind of had a chip on my shoulder a lot and had a little attitude, but I didn't realize, like, that was really the reason why, underneath the meaning of it and where that was coming from. And it really helped me recognize that. So that was the most, like, profound dream that I ever had experience.
That's freaking awesome, Laura. I love that. I love that you just shared how you were interpreting your dream as it was happening as well. I'm like, that feels like 10th degree black belt shit to me. Let's see. Noble wants to know about cars and vans.
Yes. Okay. So just like, so we talked a little bit about buildings and spaces, right? So the other thing to look at in dream interpretation is movement. So you don't always dream about the same things, but you have the same bones in every dream. There's an environment, there's a movement, there's dream characters, and then you have like different things and tools that either get in your way or they help you in your dream.
When you say
So,
movement, do you mean like action of some sort?
yes.
Okay.
So, I mean, and even just sitting and not doing anything is considered a movement when I'm doing my dream interpretation, because movement is showing you how you feel you're moving through a situation in life. And there's body movement and then there's vehicle movement. So when we're talking about vans, cars, semis, airplanes, helicopters, and then there's movement with the body. There's climbing, there's swimming, there's running. There's like trying to run fast and you can't, and you're going super slow, or vice versa, or you're able to run fast or whatever. So no matter how you're moving, look at it as just like, this is how I feel I'm moving through life or a situation in life right now. So if you're in a semi, when you think about the emotional feeling of a semi, if you're driving it, you have to pull a really big load. So like, it's like, so what do you feel like, what kind of a big load do you feel like you're carrying in life right now if you're driving a semi? When you're in a car or a van, like what's the condition of it? Is it out of control? Are you able to have control of the vehicle? Are you a passenger? Are you in the back seat? All those are different dream messages, and they're relating to you back how you feel you're moving through a situation.
Okay, are you ready? I've got a car one that I want your take on. Because all of these examples you're bringing up, I'm like, shit, this was a dream 2 weeks ago. Shit, this was a dream 3 weeks ago.
It's very common. Yeah.
Last year, I think it was last year, Prism got a purple Dodge Charger for her midlife crisis car. And it's a super fun car that we love cruising around in. But in this dream, I'm driving the car by myself. And it's significant because it's like, when I drive the car, it's not my car, it's her car. I get to drive it sometimes, right? So in the dream, I'm driving her car and I'm on this dirt road and I'm trying to like flee from this event. It's like, I mean, it seems almost insignificant what the thing was. It's like chaos. I'm trying to flee from chaos and I'm trying to get away on this dirt road. And then like the back tire starts to slip off the edge. And I feel like, oh my God, I might just roll down the hill if I don't, because the roads here in Tennessee decided apparently to not put any shoulders on any road in the entire state. So you're either like on the road or suddenly you're in a ditch off the side of the road, and they're huge ditches. Anyways, so that's kind of the feeling. It was like I was in this dream and I was trying to get away, but the back end of this car started dropping off the edge of the cliff kind of, and it was like, oh shit, if these tires don't catch, then I'm losing control and going over the edge. But they ended up catching and I was able to get away.
Well,
what's that mean,
good.
Laura?
Oh, are you trying to stump me, sir? No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so I mean, looking at a dirt roads are a little harder to drive on, right? So that's showing there being more of a challenge. The fact that you are like fleeting or trying to move away from chaos is a message as well. It's showing you have the awareness that there's a bad situation and you're trying to either avoid it or you're trying to get to safety. And the fact that, it may be going off the road, that's just showing you trying to keep a balance or literally stay within the lines or keep balance in the situation. So literally, like, do you feel like you might slip off the road at any point? Whatever in the situation in life this is referencing that's making you feel this in the dream. The fact that you're driving is showing that you're the leader, you're taking control of whatever this situation is, but you don't necessarily feel like you have full control because there's other variables going on that are presenting a challenge for you or presenting an obstacle. So you're working on getting away and working on improving the situation, but there's things that are coming at you that you can't control that, and you're aware of it and you're trying your best to kind of keep control of the situation and improve the environment.
Yeah, keep all four tires on the road.
Yep.
I love
Anytime
that.
when you're in a car and you're losing control, it's like literally like you feel like in life like you don't have full control, like there's certain things that are really eating at you or getting at you, or maybe you're not controlling your emotions, maybe you're leaning too much on what other people are saying to you and it's making you question where you're going. So like kind of keeping those things in mind. If you're a passenger in a car, that's like showing like you not taking a leadership role in the situation in life. If you're in the back seat of a car, you may have some like, you may have zero control, or you maybe need to look at like some self-confidence issues in whatever the situation may be, because you're just like in the back seat. You're not even the co-pilot, right? You're literally either going with the flow, or you may have some self-confidence issues where you need to look at like maybe you need to take a more of a leadership role, or speak up more in a situation. As if
This feels so spot on with everything that I'm relating to. Let's see. Yashi, I had a dream of paint blue deer and a white deer and a blue one sacred to me into killing it, or scared me into killing it. Sorry. Did I completely screw that up? I had a dream of paint blue deer and white deer, and the blue one scared me into killing it.
Oh, interesting. So let me ask you this, Ayashi. Hopefully I said your name correctly. So me asking you a question. Are you kind of doing any kind of self-sabotaging when it comes to some healing? Is there something you may be avoiding there? Because first of all, when we're looking at deers, they can mean a lot of different things to different people, but they can show resourcefulness, it could show instincts, it could show protective, it could show a lot of different things. It could just be a spiritual totem for some. But when we're looking at blue and white, colors have different meanings. So white usually means kind of spiritual, and then blue usually tends to mean like kind of more of a healing or a cooler color. So if this other deer that was blue, and we'll just replace the word blue with healing, and that's why I asked the question, because I don't know if this is going to fit for him yet without knowing more info. But if it scared you and you killed it, there may be something that you need to heal from, that you may be kind of self-sabotaging or stopping that from happening due to fear.
Yeah, she says, and my dad helped me kill it. Oof. Like in the dream?
It's entirely possible. It told me it had my DNA now and was going to come back stronger. Oh.
Wow.
Okay. So that's showing that fear evolving, and it's showing that avoidance, or it's showing like you subconsciously know that every time you avoid this or try to get rid of it, it's coming back stronger, and it's showing more prominent in who you're becoming. The fact that yeah. I mean, that's also showing, whenever we see two things like that, it's showing duality. It's showing an inner conflict, right? It's showing, you allowed the other one to stay, the other one scared you, you got scared and, tried to end that, or tried to avoid it, or tried to protect yourself in a sense. So looking at like maybe you're trying to do some spiritual work, but some of the healing stuff that's coming up is kind of scary, and it's freaking you out a little bit, because there's some things you may have to confront within yourself. The dad can mean a lot of different things. If I don't know what your relationship is like with your father, but remember, dream characters are showing you aspects of you, right? Like we talked about earlier. So thinking about like, what's the first thing you feel in your body when you think about your dad? Is your dad more of a rational person and tries to talk you, out of things, or tries to, shape how you believe things more? That could be part of that reason too. Yeah, if he's a narcissist. So literally, your dad being a part of that, it's showing that part of you that is arguing it, or trying to talk you out of something. Trying to talk you out of confronting, or trying to work on that fear. It's trying to talk you into getting rid of it and not dealing with it. So that's showing that inner conflict you're having with something that you're working on growing or processing. Does that make sense? I see. Here we go. There's a light bulb. Oh, I started having shutdowns of emotion from him. Yep.
Hmm.
So definitely think about that and really sit with that. Now, hopefully I said something that helped you. I always encourage journaling, literally writing out the dream and then writing out how each of these things made you feel. And then look at those feelings that those things gave you in your dream and see what you can connect to it in your waking life that's going on with you right now. Just like you kind of did, like holy cow, like I, started having shutdowns of emotions from him that was showing up in the dream. If that's what's resonating and that's where you believe that's coming from, then I would focus on that and do some journaling and explore that and ask some deeper questions. And then maybe you understanding why you killed that deer in your dream, you're going to be like, oh, that wasn't so bad. I'm not a bad person. It was because of this emotion I'm trying to avoid or this thing that's scaring me. And just understanding that is going to help you immensely. Sometimes just understanding something is the healing process that needs to take place.
What did the
Because I
blue
got
deer?
to.
What did the blue deer symbolize or could symbolize? They're
So,
asking.
yep. So for me, blue usually symbolizes like a healing color. It's like a healing. So, like, and I don't know why you're so drawn to blue. I think it's some of that is for healing, right? It's also an attractive color. Every color has an intensity to it, and we all have our own emotional connection to different colors. That's why some people love red and other people hate it. Maybe it's too passionate or it's too intense for them. Blue is a cool, relaxing, calming, and healing color. So that's why I just kind of the healing just kind of felt right to me, especially because it was with a white deer, and white usually kind of symbolizes more spiritual or wisdom. So to me, I just went with healing, but really think about how you feel when you think of the color blue or see the color blue. But yeah, I would definitely, I know therapy. Well, that's a great point, Prism. Like the entire episode has been like a therapy session, so much brought to the surface. Absolutely. Well, and dream interpretation is a form of shadow work. So,
That's what I'm getting, Laura, is it's like everything that you've
yeah.
been bringing up, I feel like it's so interwoven and connected to like the way that I process with the inner child and the way that I process with a lot of stuff, where
Yeah.
it's like I'm seeing the correlation and connection to like I will have experiences in present day. By the way, Noble wants to know what about when people are what about running from people trying to harm you or trying to unalive you? But I feel like I have experiences in everyday life that will spark something from my past, and then I'll see the correlation and connection and get a better understanding of it and then keep going, right? And so much of the dream is like seeing the correlation and connection almost with my present moment, like, this is what I'm feeling right now moment, rather than trying to reflect on something in the past. But the dynamic in the dance feels so similar. I love it.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So the running from people trying to harm you, that's like one of the most common dreams people have, whether it's a person or an animal, a snake, a cop, or whatever. That's just literally showing like a little bit of anxiety, like it's showing you not avoiding something. Or not, I'm sorry, you not facing something. It's showing like an avoidance or a fear of something that you're having that you're not facing in life. So that's really what it really boils down to simply. Um, and then, so I get asked that a lot. And sometimes it can also be anxiety. So have you ever had dreams where like you have like a too much of something? Like there's a room full of cockroaches or a pit full of snakes and
Yeah, yeah.
like like it's like kind of out of control and it's a big problem and like there's no way you can like get it under control. It's
Yeah,
too
deal
far
with
gone.
what's coming up.
Those are I relate though. The first thing I ask when somebody asks me about that is I ask, do you have anxiety? Are you
Mm.
dealing with anxiety? Because that's kind of what anxiety feels like, right? Feels like a room full of snakes we can't get rid of, or a room full of spiders. It's overwhelming and we know it's a problem, but we
Yeah, you
can't
can't get
control
away
it. We don't
from
know
it.
how they all got there. We can't take care of it right away. Like it's going to take a while to get rid of it. That's exactly what anxiety feels like. So, yeah. Okay, I feel the anxiety. Yes, exactly. Okay, what else we got? What
Iyashi's like
about
having, I think Iyashi's having some more awarenesses. Oh, wait a minute.
maybe?
Maybe it's feeling like people's defenses are threatening and trying to push past them.
It absolutely could be. It's this is where you can get empowered. This is where you can really start to explore those things and really start piecing those together and like really start learning some things about yourself or seeing what it is you need to work on to help balance you. I feel like dreams can be a really good buffer for us to help keep us balanced if we acknowledge it and learn to understand it. It really helps us understand ourselves. What about if you don't dream? Yes. So, believe it or not, you're gonna laugh. That's the most common question I ever get asked is why am I
Really?
not dreaming? Funny enough, that's what they
Wow.
people ask the dream interpreter the most. How come I don't remember my dreams? Or I don't remember my dreams.
That kind
That's
of
why I do
breaks my
tarot too.
heart.
Well, honestly, like most of the time, I'd say about 75% of the time, it's just because you're not sleeping well.
Yeah, I feel like it's people like in super activation, so their body never getting to the down regulated spot enough to where they're able to come out of that fight or flight to go into that dream state.
So the first thing I ask is how well are you sleeping? Because if you look at the actual science of the sleep cycles, it takes you anywhere from like I don't know, like everyone's a little different, but we'll just say 60 to 90 minutes or so to hit REM. And REM is where we do most, if not all of our dreaming, rapid eye movement. So if you're constantly waking up in the middle of the night, like if you have to pee, you have a partner that snores, you have a crick in your neck, you have a dog getting up and moving around in your bed, whatever it is that's
I've got all
keeping
of those things.
right. So, those are obstacles in you getting good quality sleep. And if you're constantly like barely hitting REM or waking up while you're in REM, you're more than likely, if you're not hitting REM, you're not going to remember. And also, I don't know about you guys, but when I'm tired, I don't remember crap. Somebody's like, what happened on Wednesday? And I'll have to be like, oh crap. First of all, what day is it? I'm so
Right.
tired. Like what did I do? What else happened on Wednesday so I know what day we're talking about? Like what chain of events happened? Like I have to like really think about it because I'm tired. And so you're not really going to remember your dreams very well if you're not getting good quality rest. And then there's other things to consider like medications, substances. Are you somebody that likes to smoke before you go to bed? Are you someone that is on medications that could be interfering with your ability to remember your dreams? Or they can make your dreams a heck of a lot more vivid too. It could have the adverse effect, but just different things to consider when you're not remembering your dreams or noticing you haven't remembered your dream in a long time. There is a reason for it, whether it's physical, or something you're putting in your body, or just not diet, or maybe you're dealing with PTSD, you have a lot of trauma, and you just can't get comfortable enough to sleep well or to really like get to that dream space needed. Or
Yeah.
maybe you're blocking it out on purpose. Like people train themselves to do that too.
Prism's got a good question. I've got a weird recent reoccurring theme. I keep dreaming of gum being stuck to my teeth. I keep pulling tons of it out and never getting it out. Embarrassed. Sometimes it feel like it's going to pull my teeth out, but it doesn't.
Yes. Okay. That's one of the most common dreams too, is like teeth dreams, like why, teeth falling out or whatever. So there's a couple different things that this could be telling you, especially, keeping that embarrassed keyword in mind. So it's when we dream about our teeth or our mouth, it's usually indicating some sort of communication issue or self-confidence or worrying about how others are perceiving us. So like, if we have a bad tooth or a bad cavity and it's noticeable, we notice it, we worry other people are going to see it, it's embarrassing, right? It's like that self-confidence or worrying about how others are seeing us. Um if you, or like communication issue. If we use our mouth to communicate, we use our mouth for body language. We smile. It shows people when we're happy. It shows people when we're sad. We kiss with our mouth. We're showing affection. It's a tool we use to chew our food. It's also something that can make us more attractive or inadvertently make us a lot less attractive if our teeth are not good, right? So keeping those things in mind, I always start with communication issues or really empowerment, or even if your teeth are falling out, there's that loss of control aspect to it as well that you could also be dealing with. So I would say probably to me, with it being stuck on the teeth and stuff and embarrassed, I'd say it's more of there's maybe a little bit self-confidence or with something that you're working through right now, or maybe even worrying about how people are seeing you or something like that. Like just kind of think about what that might be. It could be a lot of things. It could be, you know, you got in the car and didn't have no idea you had a big zit on your nose, and then you see it in the rearview mirror and you're like, oh my god, I just sat there and talked to that person for 3 hours and didn't realize there was a burger hanging out of my nose, or whatever it is. Like those things happen in real life, but that could correlate to that teeth falling out because that's embarrassing, right? It's like that same emotion. It's like that feeling of loss of power, or just like not being perceived in the best light that we want to be perceived in. So kind of looking at that balance of how we're outputting how we feel we want to be seen versus how we think others are perceiving us. So that's how I would correlate that theme.
Prism, let us know if that lands for you. Bree asks, when I wake up several times, I hear a certain melodic tone played over and over every night.
Interesting. No, that actually might be your clairaudience, Bree. I could be a couple of other things too. It's hard to say, but I would say like during the day, do you hear well? Are you hearing things other people aren't hearing as much or as often? Like, are you the first to hear music in the background before everyone else, or are you picking up on things auditorily? Are you hearing like the deeper basses in the music that you wouldn't normally hear, or are you hearing them more lately? I think that would be more of like a clairaudience. And like I said, like when we sleep, sometimes we're more open. So I would kind of look at that and see if that might be something that makes sense for you.
Prism says, dang, thank you. It has been happening so much. It is now my indicator that I am dreaming so I can move into lucid state. I'm going to fill into this more. I love that.
Awesome.
Psychic Jason, I had a dream. I was in a group home. There was 2 to a bed. A group of people came in and put a plastic bag over something.
Okay. Group home, there was 2. Put a plastic bag. Okay. I don't think we got the second. Oh, she says so spot on. Over my face. Okay. So that might be showing you feeling like you're not able to voice. Like you're not, like you may be feeling like you're not able to speak up or ask for help. Or you may feel threatened by others. I'd have to ask more questions and get a bit more detail on it. But what two to a bed and it being a group place, it's also showing feeling vulnerable, and maybe something to do with stability, probably as well, because our beds are a place where we're supposed to feel safe, where we're supposed to feel comfortable, right? That's where we are able to let our guards down and really rest. And so if someone's coming in and doing that to you, it's showing you may be in that survival mode, or you may not be feeling like you can really get comfortable, or there may be issues with speaking up or feeling like you can, kind of like stand up for yourself or protect yourself, or really be able to like really feel comfortable to be vulnerable. Tori says, I dreamt about having to go to the toilet, and every time the toilets are just chilling. The toilets are just chilling, like they're cold?
Chilling for all to see. So like out in the open for everybody to see. There's no privacy.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's literally like telling you feel like you don't have privacy. Like you feel like you're not able to really, there may be some boundaries with some people or some things in your life that you may need to work on, because nothing says you ain't got no boundaries like there's no stalls.
It's so exposed.
Right. Like exposed is also a really great word. Yeah, exactly.
What's up, April?
Battling an identity is what I'm picking up on. Oh, yeah, that could very well be too. 100%. I mean, to me, like, definitely like somebody's putting a bag over your head. And it's, that's a kind of a wake up call that needs to happen. That's scary, right?
For sure.
Yeah, that's definitely like looking at and seeing like what do I need to do like to be able to get out of that situation. So there's probably some anxiety could be about if you're feeling like it has to do with identity, there may be some more information there for you to kind of really like drill down into and like start asking some questions and getting down to the bottom of how some of those things are making you feel. If you think it's from identity, then I would go with that. If that's what feels right for you, I would explore that and ask yourself some more questions. Remember earlier, way earlier, I was talking about the why down. It's
Yeah.
like asking those deeper questions. Like you can't always just go look it up in the dream dictionary, and you can't always just assume like a cat means the same thing every time you dream of a cat, right? So, it's
It
really
reminds me of
getting
being
to
a little
know.
kid. Like I remember not only I remember the phase when I was a kid, but I also remember the phase when my kids were this age where it's just like, why? Why? And it's so innocent, but it's always like just such curiosity about everything that they're experiencing. Why? Why? Why does it do this? Why does it do that? Why did you say this? Why did you say that? Why are we going here? Why are we doing this? Why? Constantly, right?
I think it's a superpower.
I do
A
too.
superpower is that curiosity is a superpower. I think that's literally the seed that you can plant. Just being curious about it's showing an interest, and it opens the door. Like you can find the data, you can get the data, you can get the information, you can learn about it. You're not going to unless you're really interested and curious about it. So it's really important. I love it when anyone or kids ask questions. I think it's great to explore what draws you to things. um, oh, he has a fear of ending up there. Yeah, in like a group home. Yeah, I understand that.
Hmm.
That makes sense. That makes sense because it's that whole like not feeling in control when someone takes over. So like kidnapping dreams, it kind of reminds me of that a little bit. When someone gets kidnapped in a dream, that's usually kind of showing that fear of not having control over yourself or over a situation. So, I had a dream one time. It was the worst dream I ever had. My kid got kidnapped.
Hmm.
And what it was telling me was in real life, what was happening is he was starting kindergarten, and I had to drop him off. And I was like really scared because he had speech issues. I was really scared he wasn't going to be able to communicate everything he needed to communicate if he needed help or if somebody was mean to him or whatever. And so that correlated into my subconscious and my dream world as him getting kidnapped because I wasn't going to be there with him at school to help him, just like I wouldn't be if he got kidnapped. So it took that and escalated it to a kidnapped dream. It was a horrible, horrible dream. It stuck with me. It scared the living bejesus out of me. Like I started making him write down my phone number and everything. I started teaching him stuff. I'm like, why haven't I ever taught him my phone number? He needs to be able to call me. What if he has to call me?
It's such a scary
So
moment, isn't it? When they
yeah,
finally take
yeah,
off to school for the first time. I hate that part of parenthood.
yeah. It's just that showing that loss of control. Like I'm not going to be able to control what's happening or be able to help him. Right.
Yeah.
So I immediately went into like, I got to start teaching him how to really help himself if he does get in some sort of a situation. And that made me feel better. But it took some time and some training. But it's that dream. I took that information and I really looked at like what was really going on, what was really bothering me, and then I got proactive on it and I faced it and I combated it, right? And so I was able to grow from that and feel better as a mom and like have an aha moment like, oh my god, I haven't even thought about doing these things because it was like 4 or 5, but I'm like, yeah, that would be a great thing to do for both of us,
Right.
so but those are really great examples.
Laura, this has been so much freaking fun. Thank you so
Yes.
much. I wanted to double check and make sure, was there anything that you wanted to talk about that we didn't get a chance to talk about or that you wanted to make sure and bring up?
Mm, no, I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm always around for questions. Follow me if you want. Come into my lives. I'm always asking people if they have dream questions. I do private readings as well. If there's something you don't want to share with TikTok world, that a dream that really messed with you, and you really want to understand it, I can definitely walk you through that. And I do private readings. I also do private tarot readings, and I do that stuff on my lives as well. So you can really find me there. Here on TikTok, I've Instagram. I've got my book. Oh my God, I didn't even mention my book, you guys,
Right?
real quick. I published a book on dream interpretation. This helps teach you how to interpret your own dreams.
Oh my goodness.
So you can get it on Amazon. It's the only place you can buy it. But it's kind of like a dream dictionary, a dream journal, and a kind of like a shadow workbook, like all in one. So it's a very interactive experience where I walk you through figuring out your dreams on your own. And I do it with prompted questions, and I give you what a lot of common things mean, so you can take that information and I show you how to use it and get to kind of like the root of what your dream's telling you. So
When did you write
wanna
this?
there you go. I wrote this, you know what's funny? I couldn't even remember. I had to go look it up and see like when I published it. I actually published it on leap year day, I think in 2024.
On
It was
what
literally
day?
February 29th, 2024. Leap year
Holy
day,
cow.
February 29th. It was one of the day that it was published. I didn't even realize that the day that I got the email that it was live on like Amazon. But it's February 29th, 2024 is when it got published. And I'm like, that's gotta be some sort of cool significance.
That's super
spiritually,
cool
right?
significance. I think so for
I need to
sure.
figure that out. I need to figure that out, like somehow. Like, what does that mean for that day? I don't
love
know,
that.
but anyway.
I'll be sure
But
to share
yeah.
the link to that too, where people can get that book in the show notes. So if they're watching this after the fact, it'll be down in the description down there on YouTube. So
Yeah, that's so awesome. And in my profile, I have a link to my link tree, and it has my book as the very first thing on there. And then you can look if you want to schedule appointments or whatever, that's all in there. And then I have like some really cool, I usually have a space for events I'm doing. All the podcasts I've been on, so I'll put yours in here after your goes live on YouTube. I'll put that link for the YouTube on it with the other podcasts I've done, and then I've got like some YouTube videos and stuff like for like grounding and helping you remember your dreams. So some things that can kind of help you there as well. Just FYI, if you want to go check out my link tree. Otherwise, on my profile, I've got a ton of videos of a lot of the stuff we've talked about today: apocalyptic dreams, alien dreams, car dreams, all kinds of things. Believe it or not, if you have a question, I probably have a video of it on my profile because I literally take like the common questions I get asked 3 or 4 times in like a week or two. And I go, if I get something like that that's repeating, I'm like, okay, people need help with this. I'm going to make a video on it and post it. And so there's a lot of really cool stuff out there too. So check that out.
how long have you been doing this TikTok thing with the lives and everything?
Not that long, and I can't get on a lot, so I've had slow growth, but I've been doing it I started doing it before I published my book, so maybe close to 2 years.
Okay.
2 years, maybe under two, like a year and a half, something like that. I actually started off wanting to do tarot on here,
Yeah.
and then I realized like, well, dreams is my thing. Why am I not doing anything with that? So then I became LM Dream and Tarot, and then I'm like, I just want to do dreams. Like this is one of my things, so I changed it to LM Dream Interpretations, and that was the last time I ever changed it. But I do a little bit of everything. It's fun. I like dabbling and learning.
Do you
so.
feel like you have another evolution, another area that you're going towards, another, evolvement? I know I just said evolution. Always, right?
Always, yeah.
Like I feel like the last couple of weeks when I would read your cards, it was like really pointing at some big pivotal moment in your life. Like it felt like something new was being birthed forth.
Well, there's a relationship for me that I'm juggling a lot of things, but there's a really important relationship to me happening right now. There's a lot of things in my life in general that are in kind of a transitional state. But like today I had the urge, I'm like, you know what? I've got a lot of things that I'm not having clarity on. I think I just need to get rid of some things off of my plate and focus on 1 or 2 things. And I'm also feeling kind of more drawn to working on with mediumship, like especially today, like I'm just feeling drawn to go that way. So that is going to be something I'm probably going to be working on. Hopefully we'll see. I don't want to put too much on my plate. I'm doing a lot of integration. and kind of the slowing. I just kind of want to slow down and take my time on some things. So
Yeah.
I feel like kind of like disappearing for just a little bit and focusing on a few things and like giving myself that real time and that quality. And then coming back like 10 times harder is like kind of what I'm feeling like I need to do right now. So and then I don't mean disappear, like I'm not going to be on here anymore. Just I might be focusing on something and not get on quite as much or something,
I
to
feel
that.
like it ties in with the, I think a lot of times too, the more I can look at the things through the lens of the cycles and patterns of the seasons that we're going through and the transitions that just naturally happen in conjunction with nature. And I feel
Mhm.
like we're starting now going into, like, for me, August is this like the first part of fall, even though it's still
Yeah.
summertime. But in my brain, I'm like, I feel like now we're going towards fall and
Mhm.
towards winter, which is very much like that kind of cocooning and coming inside and hibernating a little bit to, start to process things and then getting ready to launch again in the spring with something new. And I've noticed that pattern with myself over the last probably 3 or 4 years, where it's like I used to think about it through the lens of like I would get really, and I still do have the tendency to get really depressed in the winter time. But I think
Yeah.
it's also like just the natural process of like, the summer is when we work, and then the fall is when we harvest, and the winter is when we rest, and then the spring is when we plant seeds. And it's like just this whole continual process that we're always cycling through. So
Yeah.
you might just, I think it's always components of all of these things. Like we said, right? There's never just one reason for why we're dreaming about things or feeling things or experiencing things.
Mhm. Oh, 100%. And you're right. Like you want to like do a class or something. Like the good time to do it is like fall or right after Christmas when everyone wants spent their money on Christmas and now they can kind of start recouping a little bit. So, no, I agree. I think that that's very natural. And when you have less freedom usually due to weather, some, not all places do, but some places do. And then you don't get the sun as quite as much. Like what I really dislike about like that time of the year is like you see like the morning stays darker longer,
Hmm.
and then by the time you get off work, it's already getting dark, and it's like it literally makes you feel like you worked all day because
Yeah,
it's
it's the
dark when you
worst, isn't
went,
it?
dark when you came back, and that can tend to make you feel like you have less time, depending on where you live in the world. But, and those things kind of come into factor. I feel like that really kind of get that seasonal kind of depression like going for people.
For sure. Everybody go follow Laura. Laura, thank you so much. This has been so freaking fun. I really, really appreciate it.
It's been an honor. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate you guys and Prism too. And I think what you guys are doing is great. And I enjoy really kind of hanging out with you and watching your lives. And I super appreciate the opportunity for having me on and letting me say my voice and answering all kinds of fun
Heck
questions.
yeah, I want you to
So,
come back on. We need to do more of these. I'm
heck
having
yeah,
so
let's do
much
it.
fun, like meeting all these awesome people on here and getting to connect with this awesome community of people. It just feels like it just keeps getting better.
Yeah, anytime. I'm always down. I love doing this stuff. It's very rewarding for me. So,
Yeah. Well, thank you
we
so
love
much. Thank you everybody for hanging out.
it.
Again, make sure you're following Laura. If you missed portions of this and you want to catch the whole episode, all of these are uploaded after the fact the following week over on my YouTube. So you can go click the links and go follow there and everything like that. And you'll be able to see this next week. So thank you so
Thank you,
much.
everyone. Have a wonderful evening. Have a happy weekend.